Hey there everybody, welcome to Ace Finance at the start of the week. Today I'm going to be shooting a video on why I think the biggest alt season is yet to come. But first, for those of you who don't know me, I am a trader and investor with 8 years of experience in the markets. I've made millions, I've also lost millions. And today we're going to be going through a handful of my favorite coins and discussing the opportunity ahead of us because it is pretty exciting, especially with the recent green on Bitcoin after a bloody last week. So we're going to dive in on Bitcoin relative strength and a couple of coins to get into what I'm paying attention to during this week. So let's get started. Bitcoin, as I said, had a little bit of a tumble last week with a hit around 100K, but quickly recovered to actually break structure to the upside. As you guys can see, the trend line has been broken. I had one pretty conservatively drawn right there. I could have used a tighter stop, but anyways, I decided to go with this higher trend line to make sure it was a solid breakthrough, and this is as solid as it gets, really. We might have a little bit of a pullback, which will give us some entries into some alts, which would be great because I'm looking for some more entries, and that'll help set us up with more gains into the week. But I want to take a look at where this Bitcoin move could take us because it's getting pretty exciting right now as we gear up to take out this all-time high more definitively than we just did over here at 113K compared to 109K. So we're taking a look at these Fibonacci extensions to help us do that. And as we can see over here, we've got the target of around 129K, and that's where I'm expecting this move to go. We also have, the 368 Fibonacci right there at 122K. And that could be a potential of where we might stop before we get a pullback and continue to 155,000. So right now I'm targeting 130K. And the reason I'm using these Fibonacci's is that they're the same Fibonacci's that I used last time with this move from, call it 55K all the way to 110. And you can see we tagged that 4.236 right there, almost exact on the second pump. So I am looking for this move to extend to 120 to call it 130K. And over here we have Geometric, our friend, with his analysis saying that the next leg up on Bitcoin should take us to about 118,000, and that is going to be especially bullish for our altcoins, which I am going to get into right now. So we're going to get into my first favorite altcoin, which is Popcat, because everybody knows there's going to be a cat coin this cycle in 2025, and I'm betting it's Popcat. And we can see right now Popcat has made a nice move towards the upside from the lows, and we're probably targeting the upper trend line right there as we return back to it to potentially put in a low sometime in July to take us higher. Or we're actually breaking out to actually head to $1 billion. Now, I want to tell you something about blueprints, guys. I analyze a lot of charts. I spend a lot of my time staring at charts, and that allows them to get ingrained into my brain to be able to see patterns that I otherwise wouldn't know of. So I want to talk about relative strength and blueprints. And the reason why I think Popcat looks so bullish is because I've seen this happen on other coins. Notably, I have two coins I can compare to show you the same exact setup or similar setup that has happened previously to give us an idea of what might happen in the coming weeks. So first up, it's Fartcoin. And Fartcoin had a little bit of a similar setup to Popcat. Right now, if I had to guess where we are on the Popcat chart, it's right here. We have a 50% pullback after a 300 or 200% run on Fartcoin. We got the pullback. And as I just talked about on Popcat, we are currently in this area, I would imagine, before we get a pullback and actually make our run forward. So this is the blueprint I am using for Popcat. You guys can take a look at it, ingrain it in your mind, and actually see how we're going to be trading this Popcat chart. So you can see the trend over there. It's a little bit different because we had a triangle on Popcat, but you can even lay it down like that and see this can also be a really ugly triangle, but that's okay. We're not too fussed with it. Now, the next thing I want to take a look at that has a bit of a similar structure to Fartcoin and Popcat is SPX. So the meme, SPX flipped the stock market by Murad. If you guys don't know who Murad is, don't worry, I'll show you. So SPX by Murad, over here we have Murad. He is targeting $50 billion on Giga. We are currently sitting at $200 million. Is that going to happen, or is this target a meme? I would guess this target is indeed a meme, but that doesn't matter. We can make money off of memes. So this is kind of a similar structure to Popcat and Fartcoin, where you have the move up, initial move up, and this move is about 129%. Then we get a 40-50% pullback. Very similar to Popcat. Okay, this is, again, we're using blueprints to have an idea of what Popcat might do. Well, over here, Popcat had a much higher move because it went much lower, 400% to the upside, and then we have a 50% down move. So this is where I think we are in the same area as Fartcoin and SPX before they made a move towards that 1 billion target, which I think we are actually going to move towards here on our cat coin of the year. Was this one keep removed? Okay, we're going to have to unlock that first and then delete. And then put the target of $1, and that's a beautiful 145% move. Do I think that's it? No, I think we actually head higher, but again, I did say I am a trader and investor, but as a trade, this is a beautiful trade. I mean, you go ahead and show you the percentage on that trade, 135% over, doesn't take that long for Popcat to move 100%. You can see that took 4 days, 5 days. That took 18 days, a little bit longer, but this was a 162% move with a total of 400% move off the bottom. So like I said, cat coin, I love it. Now we do have a little bit of a concern if Bitcoin ends up tumbling over, because I like to cover both sides of the bull and bear. So with Popcat, for instance, if we do happen to break this low, then we've got one more low to head towards the downside to tag this fair value gap down here about 280, 310. So if Bitcoin manages to roll over, and this is a bit of a bear trap, then, or I should say bull trap, because how can we draw this to make it seem bearish? This is pretty much the way I see it. So it would be something like this. We would have to tumble up and then move towards the downside rather than actually break to the upside. So there's multiple ways of looking at this chart, because right now I see a little bit of a breakout right there, and you could simply, as a trade, target this area. But as an investment, I would say anywhere in this area, generally. I'd prefer to buy red days, but you can't always get that. So I would, anywhere here is a investment for the higher targets, right? Because we've seen other coins do it, and Popcat is a leader. So we're gonna go ahead and look to grab some more Popcat for a target towards the upside as an investment. But as a trade, there's so many opportunities and different ways to trade this thing that it would take me a whole course to explain how to do so. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to my second favorite play of the cycle, which is gonna have to be Giga. And Blunt's Capital tagged this, saying Giga looks pretty good, so many similarities, and he's using the blueprint as well. You can see he kind of saw SPX and then he laid it over and saw the same thing with Giga and how it looks similar, very similar to it. So that's what I call a blueprint. He's seen the blueprint for SPX. He said, you know what, kind of looks the same on Giga. I'm gonna take a shot at it. And I didn't pull the trigger on Giga. I didn't like getting in on greens because when I saw it, there was a big spike on price action. So I'm gonna go ahead and find the chart real quick for you guys, because I do have a lot of coins on here right there, Giga. And when I found it, it was a bit too pumpy for me. And I think that had to do with Blunt's tweeting it out. So over here we can see that we are now currently testing the upper trend line right there. You can see that. And if we happen to break through, I think this is a good trade to try and take it to about 500, 600 million. Again, very similar to the other trades, Fartcoin, SPX, Popcat, all those quality coins. And I think Giga has the potential to do it. Now, once again, on the bear side, if we do flip over, we've got about 177 right there that I'm targeting to potentially be the low. But I do think Giga has gone low enough, and I think this is a cleaner trade in terms of risk to reward on Giga that I am looking to open the trade here. Even though I missed the lows, all I have to do is wait for the breakout right there, pull back, and then that is the trade to take it to about 600 million. I do think that is going to come real quick with Giga. It does like to move fast once it gets going. So this was the prep, beautiful prep, plenty of opportunity for you to get in. And finally, once we actually take off, it should be a pretty easy trade to the upside. Now I'm going to track this over the next coming days on my channel. So if you guys want this type of content and want to stay up to date as I present you with these opportunities and many others, make sure like and subscribe, even leave a comment, help me engage with the channel so that we can grow a community here. So that's what we've got for Giga over here. Moving on, let me just take a look at my list and see what I've got up here. So I covered 2 meme coins. I want to cover 2 coins that aren't meme coins that look really good as well. So XRP, it is a culty coin, and I like that because right now what we've got over here is a break of the trend, and you can see the triangle break. We broke it once, and then we have another trend that seems to be broken. We got a breakout, so that looks really good to me, especially considering Bitcoin looks good here. Otherwise, I'd be a little bit concerned of this empty space down here. So that is currently my worry, if that happens to come to fruition, because I can see an alternate scenario where we have this triangle to fill out and we got all the space. We might have space to move towards the upside here. You can see that space right there, and then potentially we roll over to the downside here back to 1.8. So long as Bitcoin behaves, and so long as we don't take out these lows right there, don't crack below it and close solid candles, then the trade towards the upside to about $4 is on the table come somewhere in June, July. I do think this is going to be a nice trade to have here, and there's a whole cult behind this. The structure of this chart is absolutely beautiful and managed to hold through the terrible start of the year we had where everything dumped. Yes, we came down, but we only came down back to this low candle right here. Set a little bit low below it, but that's okay. It was a very volatile time in that market, but I like this range. I like the opportunity presented right now in this range because it's very clear. We have a very clear area of stop loss we can identify, and we also have a lot of space towards the upside, potentially even breaking all-time highs, because you can kind of see this as a wick-off scenario where we move towards the upside, and when we stall a little bit and continue to move towards all-time highs, towards $5, $10, whatever it may be, as we move into the future. So XRP, another one of the coins I am paying close attention to, as I think it's a pretty easy trade, cut and dry, and the fundamentals behind it this cycle look to be primed. Now, another coin I do like a narrative of is CRV. And CRV happens to be one of those coins that is tied to stablecoins, which is getting major adoption through legislation and legality around the world. And I like to get exposure to that narrative through CRV. And right now, as we can see here on CRV, what we've got is a little bit of an attempt of a breakout. We can see we're pushing up against that line right there, and I'm hoping what we see next, because I do have a spot bag of this. This is one I'm investing with, not trading with. And what I'm doing right here, right now, is I'm attempting to trade it towards the upside with my spot bag to all-time highs and beyond. I do think this can run pretty quick once we get going on the alt cycle. It still has a lot of work to do because we got to break this trend line and then set up the move towards the upside. We do have a potential worry down here with a fair value gap around 54 to 55 cents. So we could roll over here in the next few days, but that should be pretty easy to spot because this trend line is going to force price down, right? So if we don't break up, which I do think we're going to at this rate with Bitcoin pushing, if we don't break up, we're going to break down by next week. We should see if this move on the alts is real by next week. If not, there will be opportunities for entries, which is why there's no rush with crypto. Buying green candles usually doesn't pay off. If you do, it's just building a bad habit of having to sit through drawdowns. You might have missed this move, then you got a little bit of a drawdown. Drawdowns here. There's drawdowns everywhere in crypto, and they happen very fast. So CRV happens to be one of those other coins I am paying major attention to because it's got a lot of room to run, especially since the structure here on the long time frame, on the day, you can see has shifted majorly. We took out the prior high, and you can see the structure right here. This triangle was broken and breached, and it held at the 40-cent range to start to push up. So what I do want to see next is a move towards, either down here is fine, and then a break towards the upside and start taking out these highs up there. So we got a lot of work to do on CRV. It's not as clean as some of the other charts like XRP. XRP looks pretty straightforward. Popcat looks pretty straightforward, and Giga looks pretty straightforward. So those are the coins I'm interested in trading and investing right now. There's going to be more coins that present themselves as they get their structure set up, but if I had to go and cover all those coins, I'd be here forever. So as for now, this is what I've got for you guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. And if you want to follow some of my thoughts, make sure to follow me on Twitter. The link will be in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.